Yo, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech,
And this is Nica Montford, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
and welcome back to the Snob OS Show, the show for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. We definitely want to welcome you all back. This is show number 138, and we're going to jump right into the show with the lowdown, where we talk all things Apple. So, this first story is hot off the presses. I just put added it to the show notes like maybe an hour ago. This is something I've been waiting on. I thought it was going to be an iOS 15. It probably is the finished product, but right now you can actually go to the iCloud Plus beta website and actually get a custom domain that you can use to send and receive email via iCloud. So of course you got to be an iCloud Plus subscriber. You know, where you get whether you're choosing the storage space. You know, once you do that, if you go to the iCloud beta website, and you can actually use your own custom domains. So of course you have to own this domain, but once you do, you have to go through the process, and it's pretty simple. I kind of looked at it. I haven't had time to play with it. That'll probably be something I do this evening, because I actually do have a custom domain name that I want to use. And it's so much easier now that, again, I've got all Apple products. So it makes sense. And I pay for the iCloud Plus. So it makes sense to just go ahead and add it there versus doing it in Outlook, or not Outlook, excuse me, Microsoft 365, or doing it in Google Apps for Business, because you gotta pay for those via subscription. Since I'm already paying for iCloud Plus, I might as well add
Add
this
it
to it.
there.
Right. In addition to just doing a custom domain with the iCloud Plus beta, or even iCloud Plus when it's actually released, you get private relay, which is Apple calls it private relay, but it pretty much, for the most part, is Apple VPN, which secures and transcribes and secures your email. I mean, not your email, your internet traffic as you're going, using Safari, using those other services. You get to go through the Apple Private Relay, which keeps your data safe. Another feature is Hide My Email, to where it's built into Mail, Safari, and other services that will allows you to randomize unique emails. So if you're signing up for something and you're not really sure if you want if you want to give out your permanent email address, you can give a one-time email just to sign up for this offer, just to sign up for this newsletter or whatever. You can get a randomized email. Like if you're going to the perfect use for this is like you're selling stuff on Craigslist, selling stuff via all of those third-party seller apps where you can sell your personal stuff. You can come up with a randomized one-time email to use for that. And then the last thing is unlimited HomeKit secure video cameras. So you can use iCloud Plus if you use HomeKit for like your cameras. Like if you want to put cameras around your house, those stay within iCloud Plus's secure video, so you don't have to pay for another service. Like a lot of these cameras, like Ring, like a couple other with different ones, you have to pay for their own service to store your video. Well, if you're using HomeKit, you can use iCloud Plus, and that'll give you unlimited cameras, to where normally you just get like 3 or 4 or something like that. So I guess the question to you is, will you be checking this out, or are you emailed out already?
I'll probably check it out because I know I've forgotten. I mean, how you can just buy domains, and I have like so many domains, and I got like three or four of them renewed. Was a couple weeks ago. I forgot I even had them. So I may try it out with one of those just to kind of see if it's worth investing the time in. But I think it's really a good pivot because nobody really uses. Um, I won't say nobody really uses, but iCloud is not one of those things that people, really talk about, or it's not really flashy, and it's just kind of like something that's kind of out there if you use it. I randomly log into iCloud. I just use, if I'm using like email or whatever, it's already on my phone, so I don't necessarily have to go and log into iCloud.com, whatever. So I think it's a great pivot as well for iCloud to kind of brand itself as, um, you know, a new and improved. That's why I guess I have the plus. So
Yeah,
I'm
some
definitely gonna try it out.
Yeah, something you actually would want to use versus just something working in
Right.
the black background. Yeah, that
Right.
makes sense. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Like I said, I'm definitely looking forward to it specifically because I have a domain that we're going to start using for the family. And I was eventually going to put it in, Google Apps for Business or Microsoft 365. But since I've grandfathered into those where I'm paying for them for free, I don't want to then add something else. So since I'm already
Right.
paying for iCloud for, family storage, family purchases, all that good stuff, might as well use it for this. And like I said, since I've already got, all Apple products, it's nothing just to use the mail app, to set that up for the family. All right. All right. Next up, Tim Cook's 10-year anniversary is this week. I just wanted to I put some bullet points, just kind of give the highlights of Apple since Tim Cook took over. And I'm just gonna go ahead and read a couple of these. Revenue for Apple is up from 28 billion in 2011 to 81 billion in 2021.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
market value from it started to under 500 billion in 2011 up to 2.4 trillion in 2021. Apple went from 60,000 employees before Tim Cook to 147,000 in just 10 years. An investment, and this is for all my stock people out there, an investment of $1,000 in Apple stock on August 24th, 2011 would be worth more than 16,000 as of Monday, and over a 32% annual rate of return if they invested it all. So if you took $1,000, put it all in Apple stock as of this week, you would have a little over $16,000 if you didn't do anything. And then just a couple of the products that was launched under Tim Cook, Apple Watch, probably by far the most popular one,
Hmm.
AirPods, HomePod, HomeKit, Apple Card were just the ones that I could even think off the top of my head. Of course, the streaming, no, not streaming,
The
Apple
services.
yeah, Apple TV Plus came under Tim Cook. iCloud, we just talked about it with iCloud Plus that was launched under Tim Cook. So on top of streamlining the supply chain, which is what Tim Cook was doing before he took over as CEO. So just wanted to do a shout out to Tim Cook's 10-year anniversary, and just to kind of highlight the fact that they have a market value of $2.4 trillion.
$4 trillion. That's
And
insane.
right, right. So I guess the question to you is, do you think that this was Tim Cook's doing, or was just Tim Cook put in command of a ship that was already taken off and was automatically going to get to these heights and do all this cool stuff and launch all these new products, even if Tim Cook wasn't there? If it was random person that they said, "Hey, you CEO, do you think they would do all of this?" Or is Tim Cook kind of put his own spin that enables Apple to do all these cool things?
I don't know. I think it's really hard to say because the brand recognition alone would likely sustain Apple's success. But at the same time, in order to stay on top, you have to keep, delivering innovative ideas, doing it in an innovative way, retaining your current base while, bringing in more people as well. I don't know what the roadmap looked like, when Steve Jobs passed. I knew he was sick, so he knew he was passing away. So I don't know if he kind of outlined some things that he wanted, and Tim kind of just picked them up and took them, brought them, to reality. But the fact is that heading this company is huge, and the fact that he's been able to do it in the last, run it in the last 10 years and be this successful, I think, he definitely deserves his props on this because not everybody can take on, this conglomerate, this thing that was so synonymous with Steve Jobs and continue to keep the machine rolling because Apple is so linked to Steve Jobs, but for him to be able to step into that role and keep the train moving, and not only moving but moving pretty rapidly. I think, he definitely deserves his props for that.
Right, right. Definitely, rapidly is a good word because some of these numbers don't add up to steady incline or increase. They're like rapid increase. To go from 60,000 employees to 147,000 employees. I think if you divide, well, math, which is what I'm not about to do, not about to do it at all.
Well,
But I'm
it's
pretty
more than double. He's increased it more than
right.
double in 10 years.
Right. Yeah.
The
So
headcount.
there you go. Math, right? I will say I don't know I don't know if Tim Cook specifically did anything specifically to
Other than follow
actually,
the roadmap.
but I will say Apple has been willing to try more things under Tim Cook that they absolutely would not have done under Steve Jobs if he was still here. There's a lot of things that Apple has tried, they have pushed, they've championed for. A lot of things that they would do that I guarantee you,
Air
Steve
power
Jobs,
mat.
yeah,
I won't let it go. But yeah.
yeah, Steve Jobs definitely would not have tried some of these things, and some of them worked. Like I think I want to say Steve Jobs was maybe working on Apple Watch or had the idea for Apple Watch, and then Tim Cook carried the torch. But some of these things like HomePod, like Apple Card, getting into the financial services, I definitely don't think that's something that Steve Jobs would have done. And just Tim Cook being who he is, some of the things that he's championed, LGBT, awareness. I'm the type of person that I heard Steve Jobs was. I don't think he would have stepped into those waters. I think that's something specifically that Tim Cook probably championed. So you got to give him his props. You
Yeah.
could make a very good point. You can make a sound argument that Apple was a smooth sailing ship, and all they did is just let him stand out there and drive for a little bit. No iceberg,
Hmm.
in the path
Clear
at all.
waters, snowstorms. Yeah.
Right,
But that's
right. So, but you got to give him his props for some of the things. Like I said, some of the stuff he tried, Steve Jobs would not have touched. So I got to give him his props for that.
And I think it's probably more relaxed under Tim as well. From what I could tell, Steve Jobs was kind of ruled by a bit of an iron fist. He had his thoughts on, how things should go and not super flexible. And I think under Tim, he's willing to try, like you said, he's willing to try some things that,
Right.
may or may not work.
Right, specifically with the Apple events, right? They kind of lightened up when Tim Cook took over. They'll make their little jokes. They've got all their inside jokes from the Apple events. When coronavirus hit, all of the way that they transitioned pretty smoothly. A lot of people griped because it wasn't live, but outside of that, nobody had an actual problem with how they did it. I think
Hmm.
the whole problem was why, because of coronavirus.
Hmm.
But they definitely relaxed things over in Apple. Speaking,
And some of the
go ahead.
snarkiness before you go in, and some of the snarkiness as well when it comes to competition with like Samsung or with some of the others. I don't know if Steve Jobs would have been that willing to be a little bit snarky or cheeky or however you want to call it as it relates to some competition.
Right, right. So yeah, I was gonna say. Speaking of relaxed, employees are pretty much not going back to Apple Park, which is one of the things that Tim Cook did. Tim Cook did in his time. Building that beautiful, structure.
Spaceship.
Yeah, spaceship. Called Apple Park. I guess employees really not geeked about getting back to Apple Park. So I guess
They were doing
this.
petitions and everything.
Yeah, they really weren't trying to go back, which I mean makes
Mhm.
sense.
I get
As
it.
as beautiful, as probably modern, probably as convenient it was.
Architecture is, yeah.
Yeah, to be there. People would rather be at home. There's stories on top of stories on top of studies that prove that people are working harder, are more productive, or at the very least, there is no change. There's no lack
Mhm.
in productivity. There's no,
It's not a
you know,
decrease.
right.
Yeah.
It's not a decrease. Working from home, and of course, you add in the Delta variant that's coming. You know, um, Apple has decided to, push the staff from returning to office until January, of course, amid oversurging coronavirus cases. And like we mentioned, the new trend that people are starting to grow accustomed to the idea of working remote. Apple had already postponed its planned office return to October, so they're pushing it back a couple months. And then, Apple's not the only company doing it. Facebook, Amazon, all these big giants are starting to, recognize that maybe coming back to work right now is not the best or the ideal time to actually do it. So it'll be interesting to see if eventually big companies start to push or pull people back into the office, because of course, like, I get it from a business, from a commercial, from a real estate standpoint, you know, people not being in the building, how do you justify that cost on your, on your records
Your
when you're,
balance sheet, yeah.
on your balance sheet? How do you justify, the operating expenses if people are not actually using it? It's not being operated. So I get that, but at the same time, like I said, with this coronavirus and, we're not sure about the future of the coronavirus, that new normal thing may be
It's
a
out.
thing. It may be a thing for real, to where there's just some new things we're just going to have to grow
We're
accustomed
just gonna
to.
have to do.
I'm
Yes.
holding out.
There's no more. I don't know how people are saying going back to normal or pre-pandemic. That ship to be has long since sailed. There's no going back to the way we used to do things prior to 2019. I'm sorry, not sorry, but it's just no way that we can go back to that type of life after this.
Yep. So, this may just be one of those things that, they have to get used to and figure out something, whether it be, partially remote and work from home 1 or 2 days or whatever, flexibility or something like that. But it'll be interesting to see, come January, how these companies like Apple, decide they're going to do the future of, remote work.
And honestly, I just think it's one of those things where, because they, for this whole October deal, they were pretty headstrong on people coming back. I mean, they weren't letting up at all. And then the employees started doing petitions, they started writing stuff. You know, it was pretty hardcore from the employee side. But the thing is, these companies are going to have to realize people have now almost been working from home almost 2 years now. Putting that genie back in the bottle is not very likely. You've given people a taste of that. They've seen that they can be productive, and going back into full time, in office is, I don't see how they can possibly do that. And it, again, every time they think they have a solution for people to go back into the office, it gets getting pushed back. And honestly, Fauci said April of 2022, we might be all right, but let's see what happens when January comes, because I suspect that that date is going to get pushed back yet again, because
Yep.
we just don't have control over this virus. People aren't willing to sacrifice, in the interim. ICUs in, almost half of the country are at 90% capacity, or greater. Schools are now opening up. So that's bringing it in a whole new, level to it. So, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, any other company, I think it's one of those things where it's probably, let's just say this date, but it's really a play by ear to see how it kind of fleshes out, because
Yeah.
we don't know.
Well, they're going to eventually drag some people back in, kicking and screaming. Some people may leave the company, which is,
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure a lot of that's going to happen. But
Hmm.
eventually, they're gonna figure out some way to make it not as severe for people to come back. It'll just see what the fallout is. We just got to wait and see.
Yeah.
All right. So that is it for the lowdown. We'll move over to second string, where we talk all things technology in general. The first story I got is Instagram is doing away with swipe up links for users with over 10,000 followers. Instagram was kind of being specific elitist is not the word, but you had to be a certain status in order to use the swipe up to add links to Instagram stories. Well, now
Hmm.
they've decided to do away with that 10,000 follower baseline and let anybody add links to external websites if you're promoting something, if you're selling something, or if you just want to share the good news. And they're replacing the swipe up with stickers. So I'm not a big IG story user, but there are some people who get real fancy with all of the captions and all of the images and the gifs and
Hmm.
all the sprucing up that people do of their IG stories. Well, there'll be a sticker available on August 30th, which is looks like next week, to where if you do an IG story and you want to add a link to that IG story, you'll be able to add a sticker. I'm assuming it's going to call it link, I guess. I don't know. But you'll be able to put a link via a sticker. So I just want to let people know that because, like I said, there's a lot of people out there who are heavy in these Instagram streets and they use stories
Hmm.
a lot. And it has been a barrier for me specifically because every once in a while I'll get somebody that wants to get a brand rather that wants to use me to promote something, and then of course if I like it and if it makes sense and if I think my people will find it of use, I'll do it. But one of the ways they want you to promote it is to add a link and a swipe up, and I'm like, hey,
Hmm.
I can't do nothing for you because I ain't at that 10,000 people mark. I ain't got it like that. So
Right.
now, people
It'll have to be
regard,
a link in bio.
and there had to be a link in the bio, and which you bring up a good point. It'd be interesting to see how some of those link in bio services that have popped up specifically because of the limitations as it relates to links in Instagram as a whole. It'll be interesting to see how they react or adapt to this, because Instagram seems like they are easing that a little bit. Now you still can't put links in your social feed. You still got to do the LinkedIn bio to get stuff like that out. But it seems like they've eased up on it a little bit. And, if this is popular, you may see Instagram finally let people add links to stories. So it'll be interesting to see how people adapt to that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just the way that it keeps evolving.
Right, right, right.
Well, it keeps evolving. Yeah.
So the next story I got is SpaceX, which is Elon Musk's, what do you call that? What do you call space company? I know there's another word
Yeah.
for it. Intergalactic. I don't know.
His space flight?
His space company is going to ship 100,000 Starlink broadband terminals to users. So basically, what this is Starlink is Elon Musk's plan for blanketing the Earth with broadband services using satellites, specifically for people in rural households. So if you think people out in the densely populated parts of the country, people with don't have or not close enough to the city to get fiber optic or cable or even DSL over a telephone line broadband
Mm-hmm.
service, they're using some makeshift, weird, slow, broadband
Mm-hmm.
connectivity, which isn't fair. Like you said, the same thing that we say for people in, the digital divide, same thing for people who have limited access to broadband. There are families out there who are just using the internet via their smartphones. Just like we say there's a right for people to have access to the internet, in the urban areas, for underrepresented groups, rural people living in these rural counties and countries are underrepresented as well. So they have just as much right to access as well. So Elon Musk has taken up that challenge and has launched what 10,000, if I read it correctly, like 10,000 satellites in the using SpaceX, and
Mm-hmm.
he's going to start sending these kits. It's a $500 starter kit That includes the terminal, which looks like a satellite dish but much smaller, not like those old satellite dishes, Dish
Yeah, stick it on
Network.
your
Yeah,
house.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're much smaller, much more profile, not less intrusive. It comes with a Wi-Fi router, power supply, and cables, and a mounting tripod. So you think of like, it almost reminds me of the terrestrial antennas that people use. Like if you don't want to have cable and you don't want to use internet, you
Hmm.
can still get ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox via rabbit ears, quote unquote
Hmm.
rabbit ears. If you go to Amazon, you can buy a HD antenna, and it's about the size of an iPad that you hang on the wall or you put outside your house, and you get terrestrial, over the air television. This
What it
Starlink.
makes me
Go
what it
ahead.
makes me think of is in the movie Independence Day. If you remember the Jeff Goldblum character, he goes up to the White House. He's trying to get in. He reaches in, puts this little satellite on the top of his car, and you see it kind of open up and kind of kind of spins, and he's able to connect his he has a laptop and his phone to be able to get a direct feed into the White House. So
Right.
that's just kind of the visual that I get, when I
Right.
think of this.
Yep, no, that's exactly what it is. So it's $500 for the kit, and then $99 a month for the beta subscription. Of course, it's all new, so prices and things may change as it gets more popular. But I think it's a good idea. The whole thing with him going almost into space using SpaceX. That of course not necessarily a gimmick, but intergalactic travel, I guess, is going to be a thing in the future. But before that, being able to use SpaceX to actually provide broadband internet to rural
Mm.
households, definitely more, to me,
Impressive
more of an impressive feat than going to
than just
almost
skimming
space.
Earth. I mean, skimming space. Because
Right.
that's all they do. They just kind of skimmed it a little bit. But yeah, so I think it's a great idea as well. My only concern is the $500 and the $99 a month. I grew up in a small town, so I know the lack of access. We live kind of like where my parents live is kind of like in the city part of the country. So they have, Wi-Fi and all that stuff. But like where, so my grandparents, well, before they passed, the houses out there, I mean, it's way out in the country. It's just farm, 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 a house, farm, 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 a house, just vast of flat lands where, again, a lot of people are using the technology is super slow, or they're using on their phones, or the access isn't great. So my only concern is, the digital divide just being in a different way, because if you have folks out there who can afford to get this kit and pay the fee, then sure, they'll get it. But then you have the whole point of, like you said, the digital divide, because not everybody is going to be able to afford $500 for a starter kit and $99 a month for just internet. It's no phone, it's no cable, it's no nothing. So this is just
Right.
an additional bill that, may cause problems. And again, it is in beta, so maybe the price will come down. I would like to see, if they are doing this be, if it could have like some sort of philanthropic uh angle to it, to,
Right.
we're going to sell these to some, but we're going to also say set aside 15 or 20% to, donate, or to have on a trial. If you want to use them as testers, just find some kind of way to make it beneficial and accessible to folks who may not have the $500 for the starter kit and the $99 a month for the monthly subscription.
Right. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Traditional satellite cable, satellite cable is an oxymoron. Satellite television service like Dish Network, and what was the other one? It was Dish and Direct TV.
Direct TV.
To get all that stuff, it was about $500 to get all that. That was just for television, right? And then on top of them having to pay for something else to get internet, right? So even though $500 seems like a lot, and it is a lot for somebody that don't got it, but if you think about those families that do have it,
Mm-hmm.
They're actually saving a little
This is the
bit
deal. Yeah.
because they're just getting internet worth the $500 for the starter kit and the $99 a month. That will enable them to then cut costs because now they don't need, if it works, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't also need television. They can, stream off of Apple TV, Roku, Netflix,
Mm-hmm.
Disney, all these other streaming
All the
services,
apps. Yep.
and it's just one service. It's not internet connectivity in the rural area and having to pay for Dish Network or other satellite companies to get entertainment, right? You just consolidate, for the one fee. But again, like you said, there are some people who can't afford it at all, and if he's really using this to, close the digital divide, it would be nice to figure out a way to give people access whether they got the money or not.
Yep.
All right. All right, so that is it for second string. Let's move right into for the culture, where we talk anything we want to talk about, social media, culture, or anything like that. The first thing that I could think about that's happened kind of recently was actually kind of been a story over the last week or so. OnlyFans, I'd say last week or so, decided that they were going to ban or prohibit pornography from their site. People like me was like, you can use OnlyFans for something else. Reason why I say for me,
Right.
because only
I
thing I
thought it was
know
just for sex work.
exactly. I thought it because again, the reason why I think OnlyFans popped up as popular over the past year or so is because of COVID. People can't work. The people who
Strip club shut
every,
down.
the pornography industry as
Yeah.
regular kind of
Everything.
changed. People are scrambling. They're out of work, and this was a safe new way to, make money. And it became popular because of pornography. So for OnlyFans to then turn around and say, yeah, we're going to ban pornography now was
You got
almost
us popping, so now we're going to drop you real quick
right, right.
and go and get this money over here.
Right. So it's almost like a slap in the face to where, the thing that made them popular, the thing that made them money, then they turn around and turn their back. Like Nica
Right.
mentioned, one of the reasons why behind the ban originally was because transactional companies like Chase, MasterCard, were declining or reversing the transactions from OnlyFans because they themselves didn't necessarily want to work with a company
Be
that dealt
associated. Yeah.
be associated with these type of companies. Of course, users took to the internet, spoke out. A lot of people, forecast the end of OnlyFans because of all the people who would leave because of the fact that they were they were prohibiting pornography. But in addition to that, something I read that was interesting. One of the reasons why, possibly one of the reasons why, in addition to getting all this feedback from users and public, was because OnlyFans revealed that they had profit margins in upwards of 300 million. So let me repeat that and let me put it in context. Not
Mm-hmm.
revenue, not revenue. Revenue is how much money a company makes. They didn't make revenue in upwards of $300 million. Profit of $300 million. This is revenue.
So the revenue was probably two-thirds that amount.
Right. The revenue was two-thirds that amount. Then you take out the overhead, how much it
Mhm.
costs to run the company. After that, the take home profit,
What they put in their pockets is the 300 mil.
even after paying people. So you would think profit margins, they would use that and pay the CEOs, pay the employees, play. No, that's included in the revenue. Revenue is paying people after they paid everybody, after they've paid for everything in their pockets in the bank was $300 million.
300,000, 300 million in their savings account.
So what happened was after OnlyFans revealed that, a lot of these banks was like, oh, wait a minute. Y'all
Y'all
making
got money
money,
like
money,
that?
money. We all right. We'll let the pornography in.
We'll be
so
okay.
so
Yeah.
after they revealed that they had those profit margins, then all of a sudden they was able to secure the relationships that they needed to continue. So then they said, oh, we back, right? So they have done an
Right.
about face on banning pornography. So I guess the question I was going to ask you is, do you think it was the money, or do you think it was the public and the threat of people leaving OnlyFans, and the public speaking out so vehemently because of the fact that that's what made them popular? Again, I've never been on OnlyFans. I don't know anybody on OnlyFans, but it makes sense. I understand why people were upset.
Mhm.
I'm not a heavy, I ain't in the pornography industry or nothing like that. But again, like I said, I can understand why people were upset, because it's like, how dare you, turn your back on what made you be in a position to where you are now. And I think that's what a lot of people felt. And morally and ethically, it makes sense. But I guess the question to you is morals and ethics enough?
It was the money.
That was the money.
I read it was straight money because I was reading on Twitter. Someone did a really great thread about it, and it wasn't necessarily OnlyFans ditching its space. It was they weren't going to be able to do any type of financial transaction
Right.
with these huge companies, like you said,
Right.
MasterCard, JP Morgan Chase, all of these folks, because there are, I have to go back and find the thread, but it's the way that it's written legally in
Oh,
legalese
okay.
that you can't accept funds from certain types of work. So it was sex work. And I have to go back and find the thread. The story was fascinating. It wasn't necessarily, people thought OnlyFans was just like, hey, we done made all our money off of the sex workers. Now we're about to go and make, legitimate content. No,
Right.
it was the fact that they couldn't process the transactions through these companies because it was written in the contracts that they couldn't accept money from sex work. And the thing was, it's only JP Morgan Chase and MasterCard now, but Visa was probably going to come along soon. American Express is probably going to come along soon. So that's limiting the number of companies that they could use to do these financial transactions. So that's why they were shipping content, because they weren't going to be able to sustain it. And then, like you said, when these companies saw the transactional companies saw, whoa, this is a gang of money. So wait a minute, let me go back and let's rethink this whole
Right.
sex work notion. But I
Right.
think if it hadn't been for the public outcry, I don't think OnlyFans would have released this information as
Right.
it relates to their finances. To For these companies to even see, oh, wait, y'all got it like that? So I think it was a combination, but at the end of the day, I think the bottom line is money. And when sex worker advocates, and allies started writing about this and showing, that it's really discriminatory practices, because this is legal sex work, so to
Yeah.
speak.
True.
So I think when you get that perfect storm of, we're gonna take this away, but we have all of these people writing about it, talking about it. We have a public relations nightmare. Now they're saying we're anti-sex work, we're discriminatory. So now we got to kind of save face. But in the course of them trying to save face, they realize that, oh, we can increase our bottom line and make more money. So it makes us look good that we're saying, yeah, you know what? We're going to do better for this community because we respect them. No, you don't respect them. You want the money.
Right. And you figured out a way to make it all work. Yeah. So under the guise of supporting the community, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, it's crazy. Like I said, the amount of people, like I said, I personally don't, I'm not I wouldn't be considered the customer base, but at the same time I get it. It's just like, a lot of people felt, it's like, oh man, so the man got you too, right? But like
And
you
the
mentioned,
cultural representation. How
right.
many people were using OnlyFans in their music? How many people
Yeah.
were using OnlyFans in their scripts?
True.
So they had the cultural relevance as well. So
Right.
it all plays in, and it all ties in together.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, that's interesting. So we'll see. Maybe OnlyFans will do a better job of promoting that you can do other things than just sex work on OnlyFans, because I think a lot of people, myself included, was like, "Oh wait, you can do
Just
other
I
stuff?
thought it was just sex. Yeah, I thought it was just sex work. Yeah.
You can do other
And the
stuff
thing
on
is,
there?"
there was this other company who is similar to OnlyFans, and they put out a statement saying, y'all can come over here, We know that our clientele is sex work. We aren't going to give up on you. Come over here. We know our audience. We know who our customer base will be, and we don't have no problem with sex work and paying people and those type of things, because it was somewhere in the thing they were talking about the only other way that sex workers could do this work is to get it in Bitcoin, and it was like this whole
All
type
right.
of
Workaround.
convoluted web. But at the same time, it's already hard to get it into Bitcoin, get it out of Bitcoin, what Bitcoin you're gonna put it in, or what crypto, not Bitcoin, what cryptocurrency you're gonna put it in. So it's just all these things. Why make it so hard for people to do their work?
Well, it's the taboo. We still have a
Yeah,
big
it's
taboo that does not exist in other countries, and maybe that could be a good, not. It's not necessarily. I want to say it could be a good or bad thing. It's taboo, so it's generally when people are doing something that's kind of sneaky and kind of mysterious, it adds
but
to the
they're all doing
lore.
it. Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, if sex work in general was demystified and destigmatized, my guess is they would lose money because it's normal now when things like this are, like I said, the sneaky, not sneaky is not the right word. The stigma, the taboo, that's the word. That's what I was looking for. The taboo as it relates to this is kind of intriguing, right? When, like I mentioned, when if things are destigmatized, they wouldn't make so much money. So it'd be interesting to see if
See,
things
I
like
think the opposite.
OnlyFans.
I think it would explode. I think it would make so much more money, similar to the weed industry. You just kind of have to do it on the side. You have to do your sneaky hand transactions or whatever. Now that it's legal, everybody's doing it and everybody's making a gang of money. I think, if anything, they would see probably a lot of people transition out of quote unquote regular work or respectable work and go over and make all this money over in the sex industry if the stigma and the shame was taken away from it and it was making legal.
Right. Well, I don't know the numbers. I would have to look at like Amsterdam and their
Hmm.
red light district, how things
Hmm.
are over there. I've never been over there, but the way the accounts, that is just normal over there. It's not this.
It's just it's regular, quote unquote, regular work.
Right. And the women are protected, or the workers in general are protected by the government, whatever the case may be. And it's just regular work, right? And yeah, so it'd be interesting to see if that new regular would, like you said, entice more people to come over, or like I said, kind of destigmatize it to where it's not as fun anymore because it's just that it's just what it is nowadays. It remains to be seen, but it's definitely companies like OnlyFans putting it into the forefront definitely will push that conversation forward.
And I say let's try it out and see, because the fact that there are currently so many sex workers and they aren't protected, it's very dangerous for them.
Right.
They don't have any sort of legal protections around it.
Right.
I think it would, honestly, I think it will make life a lot better for sex workers.
Right. All right. All right. So the last thing, and for the culture, your girl, Shikari Richardson, we was waiting on, we were denied a glimpse into the superstar that she was going to be or was promoting in the Olympics because of the
Hmm.
whole thing that transpired with, all of her mishaps as it relates to her mother, as it relates to the drug test. We were denied that ability to see, that age old rivalry, which ain't really a rivalry all that much because the Jamaicans kind of be dusting us for the longest.
And this girl's only 21.
Right,
So
right.
yeah,
She
the
was the up
Jamaicans
and
have a long history
right,
of leaving us in the wind.
but leading up to the Olympics, she caught fire.
Hmm.
Shakari,
Shakari.
Shakari Richardson. She caught fire. It looked like it was going to be a showdown during the
Hmm.
Olympics, but like I mentioned, we were denied that.
Hmm.
So after the Olympics are over, they had some international, not international, some national track meet. I don't,
Fontaine.
Yeah, I don't
It's called
know.
Prefontaine in
Yeah, okay.
Oregon.
Okay, so some big track meet that's nationally known. This is what everybody does after the Olympics. This was her first ability, her first appearance to show us,
Against Jamaicans.
yes, to show what she was going to do. All through the Olympics, she was out there in these Twitter streets talking.
Talking junk.
Well, she was definitely letting us know that her presence was not there, right? I don't even
Hmm.
call it talking junk. It was just, she was like, you know,
She's an athlete, a superstar athlete. She was doing what superstar athletes do.
yes, and the fact that she's young, like I said, she grew
Yeah.
up in this Twitter, social media environment. But
She's
even the,
definitely Gen Z.
right. So all that led up to this track meet. Anticipation was up. Everything was up. We finally was going to see, or United States was possibly going to have us, maybe back on top as it relates to these track meets. Track meet starts, and she
Baby girl gets
finishes.
dusted.
She finishes, but I mean, she finished dead
Dead.
last, and of course, the internet does what the internet does.
Build
And
somebody up and rip them down.
right, right, and let her have it. I mean, the jokes, I mean,
They
everything
were funny.
came fast and furious, you
Still
know.
going.
It's still, yeah, still ongoing. The Jamaicans, rightfully so, had their day, do their, gloat, because to the
Hmm.
winner goes the spoils. I'm pretty sure if Shakari would have gotten first, second, or third, or at the very least gave them a run for their money, I'm pretty sure her and or the
Smack talk the
oh
Americans.
yeah, we would have been talking cash crazy.
Cash trash.
But
Yes.
that
It would
didn't
have.
happen. Like I said, to the
Mm-mm.
winner goes the spoils, and they lit her up on social media.
Did they?
But in addition to that, the age old, she needed to be humbled. She had no business running her mouth. That's what you get for, talking all that smack. Athletes are supposed to be seen and not heard. That's what you get. All of the traditional, stereotypic, maybe even racial, I don't know, question mark, things came up. And I guess the question to you I wanted to ask is, in general, not your personal opinion. Well, I mean, give me your personal opinion, but do you
Mhm.
think the internet jumped on her because that's what the internet does? Or do you think they had a specific agenda specifically for her, based on her actions, based on her, tweeting, based on her attitude? Do you think that they specifically attacked her and used this as her, okay, calm down, you need to be humbled, now you'll act right? How do you think they, what the general idea of it, and then specifically you can tell me how you felt about the whole situation.
Two things can be true at the same time,
Okay.
as I've said many times before. I definitely think she could get these jokes because the jokes were funny, and I did cackle at quite a few because it was funny. Um, and I think at the same time, um, as I said when we were first coming into the story, is people love to lift people up to tear them down. So I think the internet was doing what the internet does, slash, here we go with the massage noir.
Right.
Because, in my personal opinion, the way I saw it was I honestly didn't expect her to win.
Okay.
I don't think I expected her to place in one, two, or three because you have to realize the Olympics just ended.
Right.
The women,
Who
most of the
ran
women, most of the field that were ran, they were still
off a
charged
high.
up from off the high from the Olympics and off the training from the Olympics. This girl hasn't ran in 9 weeks professionally. So my thing was she's probably still been training, but she training and competition are two different things.
Right.
It's two different mindsets. You're coming off the Olympics with your gold medals. You got swag on top of swag on top of swag. You really feeling yourself. And honestly, I'm not a kinesiologist. I don't know about like the medical stuff, but it has to be some sort of muscle memory as well from you just doing all of this running in the peak of your sport. The Olympics is the peak for these type of athletes. They don't have, a
A
league
season,
to
right?
a season, right? This is what they train for 4 years is to go to the Olympics. So I think in the respect of her and her ability, I don't think that this is really indicative of her ability to run because we've seen her run. We've seen her times. She's a national champion collegiately, so she has the skill. Personally, I think you take in all the hype. She was probably super, super hyped to get on the track, show 'em what I got, show 'em what I got. She probably overcompensated more than likely. And the fact she probably wasn't even taken into account. These women just came from the Olympics where they racked up all the medals. They got them all. So, plus, the Jamaicans have been kicking our butts for the longest time. So
Right,
it's not one of those things where, oh my God, it's the Jamaicans just came out of nowhere. No, the Jamaicans been there. And
right,
you can't tell me that the Jamaicans weren't already primed and prepped because they're the champions. They're the Olympic champions, and all
right,
everybody's talking about is Sha'Carri when she wasn't even there.
right.
So, they probably had a huge chip on their shoulder as well. Like, oh, we got to really show this chick, what the game is. We got to show the world what the game is. She's not about to come in here and make us look stupid after we just picked up all the gold medals. So
Right.
I think those things were at play as well. Now, for my personal opinion on the whole humbling aspect, I am not a fan specifically of trying to humble Black women particularly because people try and humble us all the time for the minutest of things. You got a new car. Oh, you ain't gonna be able to afford it. I hope you got enough money. But people are always trying to humble Black women at every turn. I don't care whether it's in your work, in your clothes, in your appearance, in the way you walk, in the way people are always trying to humble Black women.
Right.
So my thing is this is a 21-year-old young lady. Mama just died a couple of months ago. She had little spotlight, and then
They
over the
took it
course
away
of
from
the
it.
day,
Right.
it was like she was globally everywhere. So it's one of those things where, again, they build you up to tear you down. And from what I saw, it was so many Black men just willing to go in and just go hard and just beat down, beat down, beat down, beat down. And you have to know that she probably, even though in her press conference after she was still talking cash trash, which superstar athletes do, um, it had to take a toll on her. And now she's trending on every platform, on every media station. People just saying, you're not this, you're not that, you this, you not. I mean, it just has to be so much extra stuff. And like she said, she posted, she was like, finishing in ninth, the only one way to go is up. So, I think she's taking it in stride. I hope that she has people around her who can love on her because this is a lot to take in. This is a lot to take on, especially when you're just 21, just finishing college, to be on this stage with this many people just viciously, viciously attacking you. And in my perspective, I think a lot because she is a young, Black, brash woman. LaMelo Ball is out here calling himself the golden child. Bro, this is your first year in the league. You did all right, but you played for the Charlotte Hornets and y'all was trash. But you out here on magazine covers, GQ spreads, calling yourself the golden child. Is anybody say anything about him? Does anybody say anything, when you think of like your Terrell Owens or your I'm thinking Ocho Cinco, even though they do get, some pushback, it's not nearly at the level as what this girl is getting. So,
It's not women, black women in general. You go from Serena Williams. They get the
and Osaka,
praise.
yeah.
Mel Osaka. Just as of recent, but all the ones that have come before them. You know,
Mhm.
I definitely see there is a know your place attitude when it comes to black women athletes, black women celebrities in general. There is a definite just
Regular
be
black.
right. Well, just six. The comparison of black women
Yeah,
versus black men.
yeah,
Right. There's
yeah.
definitely you even look at Megan Thee Stallion. Right. You know
Hmm.
her whole even what's the one I can't stand? What's her name?
Cardi B. Me.
Yes, Cardi B. There is
Oh,
a
you don't like Cardi?
no, but I just don't like her music. It's not something's particular to her, but the the idea that they can't have the same spotlight as black men specifically when it comes to doing the
Their
same things,
peers.
their
Yeah.
peers, right?
Hmm.
I definitely can see you should just be glad that you have been given this
You're there.
opportunity type
Mhm.
attitude when it comes to black women versus black men. Like I said, going back to, like I said, from Megan Thee Stallion to where they did I can't Cardi B. Yes, they did that WAP video, and everybody
Hmm.
lost it, right?
Hmm.
How dare you, how dare you, how dare you. But when at the same time, years and years and generations and decades have gone where men,
Two
black
Live
men,
Crew.
all that's, all the sex and all the explicit
Yeah.
content and all the, people complain, like you said, people complain, but it was nearly the venom, that
There
same
was
type of
no
venom.
negative. It's just so harsh and it's just so targeted. It's
Right.
just like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is venom. It's very
Yeah.
venomous.
Yeah, same thing
Yeah.
with Serena Williams. Anytime she does anything remotely wrong, it's all the extra, So you can definitely see that with Sha'Carri at the same time. Like you mentioned, she's young. She grew up in social media. She knows how this thing works. So was using social media to her advantage, which added to the global sensation. And then, so I can understand her using social media to to get that pedestal because that's how she grew up. That's how these kids are growing
Mhm.
up nowadays. I need to be
Yeah.
on social media. I need to be a
It's
brand.
different.
And her
Yeah. It's
brand
different
what
than what we knew. Yeah.
her brand is, young, you got the hair color, you
The
got the
nails, the
nails,
brat, yeah,
yeah,
everything.
the attitude, the swag, that's her whole thing, so I can understand how people would use that and say, oh, she was talking crazy. Like I said in my beginning, I really didn't see it as her talking crazy. It was just her using social media. This is how people talk nowadays. So I don't
This
necessarily
is how
see
people
that.
in the 2000s talk, born in
Right.
the 2000s
And
talk.
this is how they use social media, right? So, I didn't necessarily equate that with, oh, she was talking all that, talking crazy, right? But to come in ninth, good
That was
lord.
harsh.
Not
That was harsh.
fourth,
That was harsh.
last. So
But
for
all those
that
other girls
reason,
competed from the Olympics too,
true,
so
true.
that was my thing. That was kind of the way my perspective.
Yeah, so in my opinion, for that reason and that reason only, you was gonna get these jokes. You were
Oh yeah,
going to get
jokes were
them.
coming,
You were going to get them.
and they were funny.
And you're right. And like you mentioned, I hope she doesn't take all the venom seriously. I hope she recognizes that comes with the territory, unfortunately, of being a athlete, being a celebrity, being a black athlete celebrity, and then being a black woman athlete celebrity.
And a black woman in the
Right,
LGBTQ community, so she
right,
is just like triple
right, right. I
in
can,
three different marginalized communities
right. So
at
I
the same
hope,
time.
like I said, I hope she can brush it off of her shoulder because again, this is the environment, right? If you're
And I
going
think she
to
can.
Right, if you're going to use social media to your advantage, you have to recognize it can be a disadvantage as well. So I
Yeah.
hope for that and that, that's as simple as that. Wash your hands of it, and then come out and win
Come
some
out better.
races
Yeah.
because
And I think that's what she said. She posted,
right.
she was like, the only place to go up from ninth, the only place to go from ninth is up. So I think maybe she, hopefully, she's kind of brushed it off and is getting ready for the next thing.
Right,
So
because like you said, people build you up to tear you down, but people also love a comeback story. So
yes,
but you have to not be last
yeah,
anymore.
yeah. The next race she's in, she's definitely going to have to be improved, even though people still are going to talk trash about it. Because if the Jamaicans
Yeah,
aren't in that, then it's going to like, oh, well, she ready to get still bad real. I mean, it's always going to be something.
right,
Honestly, I don't.
right.
The only thing
And
I think that can
go ahead.
probably fix this is for her to win the gold medal, but we gotta wait
Winning
4 more years for that.
winning makes everything better, right?
Yep,
Also, I think was kind of unfair was to all the other black women who were actually running in the race because all of the attention was taken off of them and
and
placed on
put onto
her,
her.
which was not fair, so but
And
again,
all the Jamaicans, they were all asked about her in
and
their statements, and they're
right,
like, "I just won. Why are
right,
you talking to me about
yeah,
this?
yeah,
Talk to
yeah,
me about being the Olympic champion, about
right,
being the winner of this race." So
right,
it's unfortunate that it has come down to this because no black woman really won out of this.
right,
Sha'Carri didn't win because she came in last, and Elaine and Sharika
uh-huh.
and all those Jamaican ladies that actually won,
They were invisible.
they lost because they were invisible, and unfortunately they're probably going to put some of that on her when I don't think they should. It should go to the media because that's where it's coming from,
But we're talking about athletes, so
and Jamaicans.
I'm pretty
So
sure they use that as that proverbial chip on their
fuel.
shoulder.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Coming into this and knowing they were coming into this as champions and Olympic medalists, and everybody was talking about this 21-year-old, and they're in their 30s, they're kind of sunsetting their career, so to speak, and she's kind of just coming into hers. Because again, she's 21, so she
Right,
probably got 3 or 4 Olympics in her
right, right.
if she's healthy.
If she
And
wins,
yeah, if she wins, which I think she will, because again, like
right.
I said, we've seen it. But yeah, I definitely think that was like, you're not gonna come over here and make us look stupid. So no.
Yeah.
So
All right.
unfortunately, the losers lost, the winners lost. Nobody really won except for the media and social media.
Right. These internet jokes never lose, never
Nope,
lost.
that was funny. I was like, ooh, I was like, I shouldn't be laughing, but it's funny.
Yeah. All right. All
Yeah.
right. So moving in to the next and last is the hookup. I did not know that you could actually buy stock and Bitcoin using Cash App. I have my own little personal account that I, call it my little allowance account. And I'm really into having conversations with my wife in general and just thinking about money in general. And I was watching something on social media, and this guy I follow calls himself the Wall Street Trapper, and there's a whole story behind it.
Yep, I
Yeah,
followed him.
yeah. So there's a long history behind that, but basically, he into the prison system. Learned stock market. Got out of prison, and now he is the a stock guy, right? So one of the things he said on social media that kind of stuck with me, and I'm starting to use that everywhere, is he said, "Cash, as in liquid money, is a depreciating asset." And I was like, "You're absolutely right.
That is very true.
If I'm not using money to make money, it is depreciating because the value will not be the same today that it is tomorrow." I think of the Fat Joe meme. Today's
The
price,
price
yeah,
is
is
not yesterday's price.
right, right. So that's the same thing with cat money, right? So I'm trying to, the whole thing, the where we were raised was save your money, save your money, save your money, save your money, right? Now it's make your money work for you, right? So we've even with this little allowance that I've got, it sits in the bank until I want to pay off a credit card that I use to actually purchase something, right? So it's like, all right, even if there was not a lot of money, I probably could still figure out how to use this money to make it just a little bit more money, right? But what I didn't
Right.
want to do is get into the long drawn out process of opening a money market account or opening up a account with a broker and doing all these extra stuff, jumping through all these other hoops. It's just play money that I use, right? But I still want to try to figure out how I can use it to make money. So then I was looking around trying to figure out all the different places you can open. I wasn't going to use Robinhood because I'm not sure if I'm cool with their whole business model, even though a lot of first time stock market traders, investors use Robinhood. I was trying to figure out, okay, what's something that I already use that I don't have to jump through all these hoops to actual use my money to invest. So then I was looking
Mhm.
around, did some research, found out Cash App, you can actually invest in Bitcoin and you can invest in the stock market. So if you open up or update to the latest version of Cash App, in addition to being able to send and receive money, you actually have a stock market slash Bitcoin section to where you can go through and quickly, using your Cash App account that's already connected to your bank account, you actually use
Mhm.
that to invest in most stocks, and you can use it to invest in mutual funds. And in addition to that, you don't have to own an entire stock. You can actually do the stock splicing, I think is what it's called, to where
Hmm.
I can invest a portion, I can invest a dollar amount into a stock, and then they'll do the math and tell you how much
Oh,
percentage,
how many
yeah,
shares you get
yeah,
of
or
that? Oh,
whatever
okay.
percentage of the share or stock that you own. So I thought that was pretty cool. So that is my hookup for the week. If you want to invest or just get started investing in the stock market and you don't have a lot of money and you don't want to go through the process of starting up or opening a money market account, trading account with a major brokerage, you can actually use something that you probably already use to send and receive money. You can use Cash App, that's, like I said, already connected to your bank account. You can actually use that in like a couple steps, actually start to invest into the stock market. So again, so you can actually use your money to make money. So that is my hookup. Definitely check it out. Let me know what you think.
Nice.
Other than that, if you don't have anything else, Nica, I think that's going to do it for this episode. Definitely support the show. We definitely appreciate your continued support, but one of the ways you can support the show, any costs to you at all, is you can download, rate, and review and share our podcasts. We're on Google Podcasts, and Spotify. You can engage with us on social media. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at SnobOSCast. You can watch us on YouTube. We upload every show, every video show to YouTube. You go to at SnobOSCast. And of course, be sure to do all the YouTube stuff. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. If you want to go, speaking of comments, if you want to leave a comment to us directly, you can do it two ways. You can go to snoboscast.com or you can send us an email at snoboscast@gmail.com. If you want to support the show financially, you can join our Patreon for as little as $5 a month. You get access to our pre-show, stuff that you won't see on the regular show. Get access to the show live, so you can actually watch it early. And you get access to our chat community. If you go to patreon.com/snoboscast, you can do that. If you don't want to do the monthly thing, you just want to give us a one-time love offering, you can do that via PayPal. If you go to paypal.me/snobos, and you can give us a donation there. So other than that, we are out. See you next week. Peace.
Bye.